Good afternoon mga ka-HR! Isang maulang-maulang hapon ngayon mula rito po sa Dasmariñas, Cavite. Kaya nasa Dasmariñas, Cavite po ako pero hindi kami magkasama ni Ma'am Zorina. Yes, Ma'am Zorina na na-miss ng HR Calabarzon for almost 2 months. Tama ba? For almost 2 months. Yeah.
Almost 2 months. Ayun. Good afternoon mga ka-HR and good afternoon, Mami Neds. Na-miss ko kayong lahat. At syempre, yes, excited na talaga. We are back and we are ready, especially sa ngayon. Napaka-relevant ng topic ngayon, no, Ma'am Neds?
Yes, sobra. Ma'am, medyo nag-mute ako kasi nasa hospital ako. Kagaya ng mga, alam ng ating mga ka-HR dyan, nasa client po ako ngayon, nasa pet hospital ako, kaya kung maririnig nyo, ang ganda ng background ko. O yan. Ngayong after, ma'am, talagang laking-laking problema ng mga HR tsaka ng mga employer ngayon, yung biglang minimum wage ng NCR, ng Visayas, ng Palawan, di ba? Sayang, wala na ako sa Palawan, nag-increase na sa sweldo, di ba? Ayan, at saka sa mga ibang lugar pa. So, kapit lang mga taga-Calabarzon dahil siguradong kasama na tayo dyan sa susunod. Anyway, ma'am, para hindi na sila masyadong mainit, I'll share my screen. I wait, masyadong advance yung aking screen. Okay. Dating gawi po, mga ka-HR, syempre ang HR o ang ating Zoom meeting is open 15 minutes early. Actually, 1:30 po yata, naka-open na po ako. We are requesting kung kaya ng internet, please video on, audio mute para hindi po tayo makadistract, lalo na po sa ating speaker. If you have question, please raise your hand sa ating Zoom icons o icons, please, tapos sa ating mga FB Live dyan, please message or comment your question sa ating Facebook Live. And also, we are requesting the full attention and cooperation. Siyempre, sayang naman to kahit sabihin natin free learning lang to. Guys, marami tayong matututunan sa ating speaker. At talaga namang even me and Ma'am Zorina ay laging may natutunan sa bawat speaker natin. We also provide e-certificate after paying minimal fee of 50 pesos per webinar per attendee. We do not entertain e-certificate via email nor FB Messenger. Please fill up attendance and feedback form from posted in FB Live and Zoom chat. Ano nga ba ang HR Calabarzon? Ang HR Calabarzon ay nagpo-provide ng virtual and hoping malapit na po, magtuloy-tuloy lang po ang mga kagandahan ng ating mga COVID cases, magkakaroon na po tayo ng face-to-face learning para po sa HR practitioner and enthusiast in Calabarzon, Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, and Quezon. Pero huwag po magtatampo yung mga ka-HR natin dyan. May mga ka-HR na po tayong sumasama sa atin from Visayas, Mindanao, North Luzon, even other country. Namimiss ko na nga sila kasi siguro nainis na sila sa akin, lagi lang ako nagtatagalog. Pero some of our participants from other countries ay nag-chat na po sa akin at nagpapaturo paano maintindihan ang Tagalog. Kaya mga ka-HR namin sa ibang countries, India, Vietnam, Japan, at kung saan pa man po, magandang hapon po sa inyo. Ma'am Zorina, paano nga ba para makakuha ng e-certificate ang ating participant?
Of course, Ma'am Neds, alam na natin yan lahat, especially sa mga matagal na nating kasama. Pero para sa mga bago, ang ating mga participants na kukuha ng e-certificates, unang-una sa lahat, ang HR Calabarzon cannot guarantee na i-share namin ang mga presentation materials ng ating webinar. At kung mag-share man kami, hindi ito posible na maging kapareho ng resource speaker. Pangalawa, ang ating e-certificate ay ibibigay after 7 working days ng workshop. Hindi kasama ang Sabado, Sunday at ang holidays. Kailangan muna namin i-validate ang minimal fee nyo na 50 pesos per webinar per attendee through GCash at sa ating Google Forms attendance. Pangatlo, lagi po natin isisigurado ng ating Google Form ay kumpleto at accurate ang mga importanteng impormasyon na nakalagay, katulad ng buong pangalan para sa first name, middle initial, at last name. Ang email address, napaka-importante nito upang makuha nyo talaga ang inyong e-certificate at syempre ang ating reference number and proof of payment. Please note na ang ating mga links ay available dun sa ating comment section sa FB Live at sa ating Zoom chat box. Pang-apat, ang ating payment ay kailangan din bayaran pagdating ng Wednesday next week after ng ating workshop na ngayon. And of course, we are not accepting e-certificate requests via email or messenger para sa auditing purposes. Ngayon, bakit nga ba natin kailangan magbayad ng 50 pesos per webinar per attendee? Ang ating minimal fee ay para ma-sustain namin ang expenses ng monthly subscription namin sa Zoom postpaid account para mas makapag-provide pa kami ng mas marami pang free HRE knowledge webinars every Saturday. And of course, please take note po natin ang ating GCash number for GCash payment. Paki-screenshot na lamang po pag sa mobile number at paki-print screen kung nasa computer. Ayan, and of course, meron tayong bagong assembly sa CPHR, which is our sponsor for our HRE knowledge, ang Certified Practitioner in Human Resources. So there will be an online learning and certification event. Limited live training lang siya. So ibig sabihin, we have only limited slots. This will be occurring on June 17 to June 18, 2022. And of course, huwag po natin kakalimutan na partner po natin si CPHR. Kaya lahat ng group members ay makakakuha ng 10% discount pag uma-attend ng CPHR OLC Assembly.
And of course, gusto rin magpasalamat ng HR Calabarzon sa ating sponsor para sa HR Business Partner Learning Series and HR e-Knowledge, ang Wellness, Health, and Total Rewards Insurance Consultant. They provide HMO, medical insurance, group life insurance, personal accident insurance, executive checkup, retirement, clinic management, burial services, and non-life insurance. Ang kanilang mga HMO partners, Avega, IntelliCare, Medicard, HMI, MaxiCare, Etika, EastWest, Care Health Plus, Pioneer, PhilCare, Coco Life, and Value Care. Of course, syempre may mga partner din siyang life insurance partner kagaya ng Coco Life, Pioneer, Forward Insurance, Chubb, Etika, AXA, PhilLife, Sun Life, Grepa. And non-life insurance kagaya ng St. Peter Life Plan and Chapel, PhilLife, Cocogen, HP, Santo Domingo, Etika, Standard Insurance, Pioneer, and Malayan Insurance. Eh ma'am, paano po ba namin sila makokontak if ever we need quotation, product presentation? Please do email their employee benefit consultant at ev@wellnesshealthandtotalrewards.com or call their head client management, Sir Ron Benedict Dante, at 0919-009-0236, or their Chief Executive Officer, Mr. John Jeffrey Flores, at 0968-853-5003. You could also contact their employee benefit consultant, Mr. Raymond Austria, at 0917-173-0111. Ayan, Ma'am Jurina. Ngayon, talaga namang kagaya lang nabanggit ko kanina, di ba? Ano nga bang pwedeng gawin ng isang kumpanya, lalo na kung nagkakaroon ng mandatory wage hike? Ano masasabi mo doon, ma'am?
Marami tayong pwedeng gawin kasi of course, ngayon dito sa Philippines, marami talagang pagbabago at lalo na kakatapos lang ng eleksyon, biglang wage hike, marami talagang nagulat. Pero marami tayong malalaman from our speaker kung paano natin maka-counter ang wage hike na to.
So huwag na nating patagalin, Ma'am Jurina. Let's introduce our speaker for today.
Yes, so thank you, Mami Neds. Our speaker for today is Ma'am Daisy Callanta, a seasoned HR executive and consultant. She is a book author and one of the Philippines' sought-after global keynote speakers and facilitator. One of the nation's most senior human resource leaders with past experience at leading global organizations such as ADP, Citel, and White and Case. With more than 20 years of working experience as an HR practitioner, she has proven track record in the mastery of HR functions and strategies. She also has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a bachelor's degree in law. Her qualifications are well complemented by a strong background in employee relations, policy management, diversity and inclusion, conflict management, and labor relations. From HR executive to CEO, she is currently the founding president and CEO of Jesus Hugs Ministries Incorporated, a duly registered, multifaceted, nonprofit Christian organization that provides free community support programs to help spread awareness and proper care for children with special needs. Additionally, she also provides counseling, humanitarian aid, livelihood charitable programs that alleviate prevalent problems within the community. You may also follow Miss Daisy with her LinkedIn account. You can just go ahead and search Miss Daisy Callanta on LinkedIn. Now, introducing our very amazing and very inspiring speaker for today, Miss Daisy Callanta.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be back here, Neds and Jarina.
Yes, ma'am. Na-miss ka namin at talagang excited na ma'am. Para sa kaalaman ng lahat, biglaan namin pinabago ang topic para mas maging in-depth at talagang swak na swak sa panahon ngayon.
Yes, tama. And we are so excited, Ma'am Daisy, to hear about your thoughts and ano ba yung mga pwede nating gawin as HRs.
Ma'am, before that, may we ask, ano po ba magiging take-away ng lahat ng attendee natin this afternoon? Knowing na syempre bukod po dun sa take-away na talagang mas mararamdaman natin deep inside being the true HR in a heart.
As always, as HR dapat patas, diba? So we have to be the voice of the employee and the voice of the employer. So I guess the main takeaway that participants can expect today is fair game. Diba? Walang fake news, fair game, meron. So ibig sabihin, we will have to balance putting on different hats. Diba? Sa HR, you have to put the hat ikaw first as an employee, as management, and then the team that you actually look after for. So titingnan natin both sides, and then let's try to assess in terms of what are the things that we can do. Diyan naman magaling ang HR, diba? Yung laging kulang o walang budget, yet we make do with whatever we have. So I guess another takeaway is in the absence of any budget, and you have to really work around with your current plus this wage order, what can you do creatively to at the very least survive or afloat, keep the business afloat. So yun. Yan nating mga takeaways this afternoon. Nakamute ka ata.
Nagsasalita ako, nakamute pala ako. Ma'am, sorry, lagi ko kasi i-mute yung aking mic because kagaya ng nabanggit ko kanina, nasa pet hospital po ako. Kaya medyo maganda ang aking background. Ang aking mga pets ay makikita ng buong ka-HR natin sa buong Pilipinas at sa other country. Anyway, Ma'am Jorina, ibigay na natin ang floor kay Ma'am Daisy para yung excitement natin, malaman na natin kung ano pa ba ang pwede nating magawa for the firm and for the employees.
By the way, if you have any questions in between while I'm discussing the topic, itanong niya na para I can answer real time. Mahirap kasing naiipon, although we have a portion for Q&A. Okay? So let's start, mga ka-HR Calabarzon. So our topic for today, this afternoon, tonight daw ba? For this afternoon is, can companies withstand the wage hike amidst the pandemic? So, kaya nga ba? Kaya ba natin mag-survive or even thrive? Or can afford ba tayo magkaroon ng wage hike at this point? So titingnan natin some of the facts that we can look into as HR, and maybe you can use the very things that I'm putting here now when you want to talk to management or to the people regarding this matter. So as said by Neds and Jarina, I'm Daisy Callanta. I'm the president and CEO of Jesus Hugs. I'm a certified facilitator and HR consultant for Salt and Light Ventures and Breakthrough Leadership, Management and Consultancy. I am an international professional facilitator for HAGI. I am a CPHR certified practitioner. I am also a certified, again, professional facilitator for Lead Like Jesus. And currently, on my way for certification for my baking and pastry arts in Global Academy, and I'm a book author of the book God is Bigger Than Autism. So, mahilig po ako sa data. I like data. So first off that we have to actually do is let's take a sneak preview in terms of where Philippines is now at this point, generally in comparison to our Southeast Asian neighbors. So, pag nakita niyo po yung word na MSME, it stands for micro, small, medium establishments. So that's what it means. Micro, small, medium establishments. Why am I focusing on this? Kasi ito po yung mga tinamaan. These are the establishments that were actually entirely hit during the pandemic, because this pandemic has been long ongoing since 2019. And we are just recuperating or recovering from the impacts of it. So pinakamagandang tingnan as always is, I think the question that we have a while ago is, kaya ba? Can the company afford? Can the company withstand another wage hike? Parang tama ba timing na to? Or mahirap para sa mga employers yung magkaroon ng wage hike? So tingnan muna natin the numbers. This is actually a survey that was done by ADB. So Asian Development Bank. So let's take a look in terms of where we're at now in the Philippines setup. So as you can see, tingnan muna natin the aspect of business. How was the businesses in the MSME particularly were hit by the pandemic? Well, we can see from this data, yung mga statistician dyan, yung mga analysts dyan, you can already know, even without me yet telling you, that we were hit very badly. Ito tayo. Yung PH is the yellow bar. Yan. So in terms of business impact, tingnan natin, Philippines, in comparison to our neighboring countries, were hit very hard. Number one being, if you look at the number of MSMEs that temporarily closed, meaning hindi pa naman permanently closed pero about to or hoping not to close, pero close na siya at the moment, hoping mag-reopen pa. So this is the numbers for temporarily closed. Kasi meron din pong permanently closed, meaning the permanently ones are the ones declared bankruptcy, talagang hindi na kinaya. Temporarily are floating. Tinitingnan pa, hoping magre-reopen pa somehow. If you look at our numbers, 71%, 70.6. If we round it off, it's 71% in the Philippines. Tayo po yung may pinakamataas, followed by Laos, 61, Indonesia at 48, and Thailand at 41%. Now, if we look at cancellation of contracts, so there are contracts that are existing, right? When you say contracts, yung supposedly inaasahan mo yan, diba? Sometimes it's global, sometimes it's local, but in the absence of demand, na-cancel yung contracts. Again, Philippines was recorded at an ultimate high at 19.1%. Now, in terms of delivery and products and services that were delayed, again, Philippines is at the high at 35%. So a lot of it had to do with the fact, and we all know, marami nag-skeletal workforce, marami tinamaan, marami nagkasakit, and it delayed the overall performance of these establishments, and we fell under 35% of missed out delivery or delayed. So ADP in this particular study shows indeed that 70 to 71% of the Philippines MSMEs either had problems with their cash flows, that it forces the employers or the owners to borrow either from friends, the bank, and family just to keep their businesses afloat. Bakit natin sinasabing just to keep? Hindi pa siya closed pero about to. So ayan, 71%. I'm hoping that you guys are not one of those hit by pandemic. Now, let's look at another aspect in terms of employment. Dapat kasi as HR, we have to have a balanced perspective, employer and employee. So let's look at how this impacted the employment capacity of the Filipinos, comparing it to the other neighboring countries. Natural, since we are the highest grocer in terms of temporary closure, lead us to say a lot. We are also the highest grocer in terms of temporary layoffs, 66.2%. Same order, 53.5 Laos, 51 Indonesia, and then followed by Thailand at 42.3%. So indeed, marami. What does it say when you look at both these numbers? There are many businesses hardly surviving, and it caused a domino effect. Many employees also were temporarily laid off or in floating status. People had to actually try and survive during pandemic. So even with the travel restrictions and the many lockdown, tayo Philippines has consistently been locked down for the past 2 years. We tried to survive somehow by adapting the work from home setup. Even with that agility, 12.9% still found that work from home or teleworking does not work for them, because there are industries in the MSMEs that cannot afford doing business remotely. So kagaya ng maliliit na tindahan or stores that needed more face-to-face, yung may store sa mall, they could not survive remotely, right? So a lot of them cannot have the agility or the adaptability to apply work from home setup in their line of work. So instead of paying the administrative operational expense, people just opted to actually temporarily close until the economy starts to kick off again in a better way, rather than operate in a work from home status and operate at a loss. Kung may tanong ha, let me know. So for wage payments, the Philippines and Indonesia, imagine for Philippines and Indonesia, nearly 60% of MSMEs suspended payments. So ito mga ka-HR, what I'm trying to actually just say here is that this is where we stand at this point. Because of the grueling challenges in the business and its impact to employment, the business, the sales, and overall performance of organizations, we are still hardly recovering and recuperating. In fact, if we want to look in terms of the financial condition of these companies, we have to look on liquidity or yung cash flow, yung dami ng pera na pwedeng hugutin to be able to be used in operational business. These are liquid assets, liquid money, cash flow that you need to actually run an operations. Why am I saying all these? Remember, as we were discussing, I'm not looking at it only from an HR perspective. I am also a president and CEO of my own organization. So I'd like to look at it holistically, not just from an HR standpoint, but also from a business standpoint. We are one of those that are blessed that even if our organization, Jesus Health Ministries, were only established in 2018, we were hardly operating at 1 year or less when pandemic hit us. Actually, 1 year and 1 month pa lang kami operational when the pandemic actually broke out. But by the grace of God, we have not closed. So despite the hardships, we remained not just afloat, but we were able to actually keep our cash flow very, very liquid. So the reason why, it's because we are very particular in terms of numbers. And this is why I think Jarina and Neds wanted me to come on board here and help you guys out. Because I bring into you right now combination of HR strategy and also running a business or running an organization. So one of the things I always look at is yung haba ng PC or your cash flow. Are you able to foresee operationally, even without sales coming in or without money coming in, can you still operate for how long? So you have to foresee or forecast your operational demands and needs. So if we're going to be looking at that aspect, very important yan, as HR, you have to ask your CEO and president in terms of cash flow, how liquid are you? So we could see that in the Philippines, we're just going to be concentrating in the Philippines alone. 36.7 or 37% have no cash or savings. So wala na talagang liquidity in terms of cash flow. Hardly operating on break-even, baka at a loss. 42.1% has funds, but about to actually run out in a month's time. So that is how far we're at. So can you imagine at 100%, you add 37 and 43. That is the status of current MSMEs operating in the Philippines right now. Talaga pong hardly surviving. 17, these are the well-offs. These are the ones that survived and thrived during pandemic because at least 17% still has enough savings, assets, and enough buffer or contingency to actually still operate the business. So given where we're at now, majority reported, as I said on the other slide, had to borrow from friends, families, relatives, bank, even, shell out their own personal savings and money just to keep the business afloat. When we filed our respective papers in BIR for renewal for this year, we saw a lot of people also requesting a delay or a deferred payments of tax to the government agencies. Not only to the government agencies, but the restructuring of their monthly amortizations on loans from financial institutions like lending businesses and banks that lend money to these companies. So ang dami po talaga right now tinatamaan ng sobra financially. Sadly, nationwide in the Philippines, 12.7% already filed for bankruptcy. So with 2 years, more than 2 years in pandemic, already 13% have permanently closed. So these were the people that really didn't survive anymore. If you add 36 to 42, more or less 70, 80 trying to still survive the pandemic. Now, a lot of people think that just because things have eased down, restrictions have actually been lifted, that we are safe. No, because there's still a hard road that we still need to actually look into in terms of business being able to recuperate from the losses in the past 2 years and to be able to start gaining their profit at the very least operationally. Ito recorded lang to as of 2020, hindi pa kasama yung 21. 69,000 reported pa lang, so we don't know really how many there are, but the ones were reported are 69,000 employees lost jobs. So that's the impact that we have. 12,193 establishments. They are the ones comprising the 12.7% permanently closed. And for those that are trying to keep afloat, one of the labor saving device that they did was to reduce their workforce. It's about relatively around 23,000 small, medium, micro establishments just to survive. Now, what are some of the hard truths that we have to actually look into? Pag HR ka, you have to make sure your mind is open, your perspectives are wide, and you're looking at all aspects that can, para walang surprise, that you can prepare for and strategize, especially given where we're at now. So some of the hard truths are, many of the businesses, kahit po mga operational na, I know I don't need to actually convince you. A lot of you already saw the state of the malls before, right? It was like a ghost town. And even when things are easing out, you could see that some of the restaurants, some of the malls that, some of the stores, that you used to be favorites when you come back after several months, they're either closed or they're actually replaced by another establishments. So I've known many friends who are operating at the loss because they already had a down payment secured for 1 year, 2 years in terms of lease. So they were still forced to open. Somehow, at least there's money coming in. But just because money is coming in doesn't mean that the money coming out is less than the ones coming in. So dapat kasi mas marami yung coming in kaysa coming out. But many nowadays have to open even at a loss. People may be starting doing a lot of face-to-face right now, but money is not still coming at the pace that it used to. A lot of us are operating on receivables. What does that mean? Since everybody was affected by pandemic, so even if you had sales already, you had consumables out, yung collections, yung receivables, sometimes it's taking deferred payments because nanghihingi din yung partners or your customers deferred longer installments, unlike before, normally ang kalakaran is 30 to 45 days. Everybody now is hardly trying to break even just to operate. Now, if you look at it overall, how does that impact the family? If your family, dati dalawang nagtatrabaho, one of you are those falling in the numbers of lost jobs, definitely it would shrink your family capacity income. If let's say both of you have jobs, but then you both belong in a establishment that are reducing workforce, that means both of you may be working but on skeletal workforce. That means even your family income capability also shrunk. A lot of us possibly survived the pandemic on the basis that many were working from home. So even if your family income shrunk, since you're not paying, gasoline, commute, expense for commuting and travel, expense for eating outside, somehow kahit paano people are still surviving because you're able to offset. But now that we are starting to resume face-to-face, this is another problem. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people definitely felt the hit with the Ukraine and Russia war. Gases went up, gasoline went up, sobra-sobra na talaga yung price hike ng oil. And we all know that if the oil hits a high, everything else follows. So the question right now is, if people are working at the minimum wage and it's not even enough given all the price hike, of course, naturally, everybody would ask for wage hike. Truth be told, there's a lot of discussions among businesses if DOL and our government agencies somehow can defer the implementation of the wage hike. But it's already been settled. It cannot, because majority also of our countrymen could no longer withstand the constant prices increase, but the salary is still at ultimate low. Yan. So yan yung mga problema natin nowadays. Jurina, Neds, okay pa kayo? Are we still good? Because I'm good if you have questions at this point that you want to actually ask.
Actually, wala pa naman masyadong question.
Pero di ba grabe, this is where we're at this point.
Nakakabigla, ma'am.
Diba? So this is where we are all at, hardly surviving. So magandang, iba style ko ngayon. Pupulitin ko si Neds at saka si Jurina. Because these are people on the ground as well. Are your employees operating on full force or reduced workforce, Neds?
Full kami, ma'am. Full.
Full na. When did you resume full operation?
Actually, ma'am, hindi kami nagbawas.
Kasi basic essentials kayo, no? So you guys are one of those that are blessed because you guys are operating on essentials. Talagang
Bless ma'am for employees but not for the management.
O mamaya, let's hear Ned's perspective because I like to hear that perspective. Baka sabihin kasi ako lang love my own. I'm trying to look at both, no?
Yes,
So, though it's good from a employee perspective kasi basic essential yung pinoprovide nyo, akala natin from a perception perspective, it's also good from management kasi may sales. But then again, we're hearing straight from Ned's that it's not the case. I want to hear more from that. How about you, Jorina?
Currently po, we are operating at full capacity pero ramdam na ramdam din po talaga namin yung pagbabago and yung effect ng pandemic. But ang good thing kasi is we have a lot of reserves na inipon talaga ng kumpanya kaya strong yung foundations.
So you are one of those in the 17%, meaning
Yes.
you had contingency fund that even before pandemic, finorcast na. May mga company kasing ganon, they have an X amount of percentage every year that they put on contingency for calamities and all these events. So meron kayo nun. Good for you. Good for you. So, yan ha, from time to time, sorry, I have to ask you both kasi mas maganda that our participants are able to hear fresh. Kasi kagaya nun, guys, right, HR practitioners, ako personally, I was amazed because Neddy's company, I would assume, hindi naman masyadong mahihit kasi namimigay pa yan ng tinapay kahit pandemic doon, talagang daming yung charity work. So I'm assuming, Lord, thank you, kaya pa ng company, no? But now we're hearing, even them, they're being hit left and right. Let's look at both perspectives again. From Sergio Ortiz Luis Jr. Ayan, siya po ang president ng ECOP or the president of Employers Confederation of the Philippines. Prior pandemic, companies are, there's a stringent process. Sobrang haba po ng proseso. Para mag-declare ka agad ng bankruptcy. You have to really defend because the government would want to protect labor from the abuse of companies of filing bankruptcy pero hindi naman bankrupt kasi they just want to reopen and start anew kasi very expensive na yung operational cost, lalo labor. So in order to protect against the unveiling of a corporate veil, talagang sobrang stringent ang process noon pag nag-declare ka ng closure. Talagang sobrang mabusisi. But given the pandemic, we heard it from Sir Sergio Ortiz Luis Jr. himself. And may I quote, this is what he said, noong araw mahirap magsarang kumpanya dahil ang daming babayaran. True, there's a lot of penalty na mag-operate ka na lang kaysa mag-stop ka. Pero ngayon, ready-made reason na yung lockdown na nalugi sila. Hindi mo mapipilit na magbayad ng separation pay dahil walang ibabayad. As HR practitioners, we know that one of the 4 front expense that needs to be taken care of in terms of cessation or closure of establishments. Number 1 talaga, other than tax, is payment of wages and separation pay. Ano talaga yan? Matic, automatic. But even that, hindi na rin nagagawa ng maraming company nowadays. And truth of the matter is, even if there is a law that requires them to do so, if there is no fund, what can you do? That's the reason why they're closing. So what can they actually do at this point? So ayan, yan ang reality natin at this point. On the other aspect, we can also hear naman Rene Magtubo, the Partido Manggagawa chairman. Partido Manggagawa, for those who's not aware, is a labor group, no? Ito naman yung kanyang sinabi. It is adding insult to injury to workers for the regional wage boards to exempt and defer wage hike as demanded by employers. So this is where you're going to see 2 perspectives, right? The employers are giving all these numbers that I've spoken about as the real state of the business. On the other hand, you have a group of people that represents us as employees that says, hindi na-afford ng mga manggagawa, hindi na-afford ng workforce, ng employees, yung deferment pa ng implementation of wage hike. The minimum wage increases are not even enough to recover the value lost to inflation for the past 3 years. So parang sinasabi niya wala ring effect. Yung very minimal na idadagdag mo, either kakainin ng inflation, kakainin ng tax, or magiging mas damaging pa nga ang cost niyan pag inannualize mo. If the hikes are deferred and employers exempted, then the most vulnerable workers are left with nothing. So that's the argument that we also have. Such increases being too small and too insignificant has no impact on improving the economic situation of workers and their families, given the non-stop increases in prices of food and services. So tama naman, diba? Very, very, ramdam natin to, very, very felt ang what we're trying to actually hear. Right? Yung price hike na sinasabi, hindi talaga halos din mararamdaman ng normal na empleyado because kinakain lang din ng oil price increase, yung mga bilihin. 1,000 pesos right now, if you're gonna go to a grocery, hardly buys you even an item that will comprise between less than 10. Depende sa presyo mo sa binili mo, pero halos wala ka nang mabibili if you are even looking at it. Yun ang batayan doon eh, diba? Yun ang batayan. How much can you pay at 100 pesos? How much can you buy for 100? Parang yung 100 dati, parang 1,000 na lang ang value ngayon. Sobrang taas. So, eto ngayon tayo. O take pause na naman ako. Kukulitin ko na naman si Jurina at saka si Neds. Ayan. So, ito ang tanong natin ngayon. Yan ang itsura nating mga HR. What to do? Sana all, right? This is what everybody can retawa kayo. Diba? True, diba? This is where we're at. Ang gagawin ko, kuya, anong gagawin ko, sir, ang gagawin ko, ma'am. By June 4, Manila will already be increasing 570 for non-agriculture and for agriculture 533. A day after, Visayas will now be 420 and 450. So anong gagawin ni HR? Sino po ang kakapihan ko? The business? People. Yan po ang ating katanungan today. Kaya pa ba? O, pause muna ako. Tawa kayo ng tawa dyan. Mag-co-facilitate kayo dito. Kakaiba to. Ayoko magsalita ng tuloy-tuloy ng 40 minutes at 60 minutes. Tulungan niyo ako dito. Kaya pa.
Natawa lang ako sa message ni Miss Eka. Papunta pa lang tayo sa exciting part.
O yan. Papunta pa lang sa exciting na part. Paano tayo mag-survive? Exciting.
Ano nga ba, ma'am? Kami, honestly, before, nung usapan pa lang to talaga, gumawa na talaga ako ng parang summarization. Kasi syempre, knowing my boss, siya yung tipo ng taong masyadong maka-employee. Kaya ma'am yung sinabi ko kanina, di ba? Nabanggit ko kanina na kami, good for our employees but not for the business. Kasi talagang ang katwiran ng boss ko is I don't care kung lugi tayo as long as yung mga empleyado natin meron silang kakainin or ihain para sa kanilang pamilya. So, papasukin pa rin sila. So, ganun ka-okay yung boss namin na talagang to the part na kahit ako, akala ko kumita kami. Hindi pala, lugi pala kami for both 2 years na nagkaroon ng pandemic.
So operationally, nakita mo, akala nyo kayo yung nagsusurvive. Kasi kung titingnan natin, di ba, the food essentials, di ba, parang okay kami kasi hindi kayo tumigil. Tapos lahat sarado, kayo lang pinupuntahan, kayo lang ang nag-supplier, sobrang dami ng demand. Walang nabawasan na tao sa inyo, walang nag-skeletal force. Pero bakit? I mean, Nebby, why are you still operating at a loss? Diba? Yun ang tanong.
Yes, ma'am. Yun po talaga, kahit even me, yun yung tanong ko sa boss ko. But syempre yung heart niya for the people na mawawalan ng work, ang nasa isip niya is yung darating. Kaya natin mabawi yan. Which is yun nga po, medyo bumabawi na kami this past few days. Kasi ang kaya lang naman nagkaroon siya na masyado talagang lugi is lahat nagtaas eh. Lahat ng basic na kailangan mo, harina, asin, butter, asin talagang nagtaas. Tapos kami, hindi rin kami nagtataas ng presyo. So parang ganun siya Kahit
So mapapasana all ka lang, 'di ba, sa company that nakagaya kay Nedi. Why? Because the company took in the impact of the increase in the cost of ingredients, 'di ba? Yung cost sa empleyado, cost of operational, kahit na nalulugi, hindi nagtaas kasi yung humanitarian perspective na awa pa rin yung company. Kumbaga sa PC, kaya pa nilang mag-take on ng loss. Hindi naman sila impacted. Kumbaga kung ako yung pamilya na may-ari, no, hindi naman kami magugutom. So hanggat ganun pa, sige, kesa magsara, right? But even if essential companies like the companies of Neds, titingnan mo parang hindi malulugi. But you have to understand, when everyone else were fully operational, maraming tinapay ang nag-o-order kahit sa mga small, micro, medium establishments. But given the data that we saw, lahat halos nagsara, hardly surviving, this affected your orders as well. This affected your demands as well. Hindi ka nagbawas ng tao, but the same number of demands get limited or decreased. It just appears as if you're still busy with the production because you're still catering to supplies and demands, but it's not the same numbers anymore. Diba? So, ang gandang marinig yung perspective na ganito. Now, how do we survive? Ayan. Tingnan natin. Jurina, ikaw, tanungin ko naman yung perspective mo. Can your company withstand the wage hike? Nasaan na si Jurina?
Regarding po dyan, sa CEO din po namin kasi yun din po talaga laging iniisip niya, which is yung tao. Sa buong experience po hanggang sa pandemic, sa simula pa lang po ng pag-found po ng mismong company, never po kaming nagtanggal ng trabaho or nag-layoff kasi yung CEO po mismo, sinisik niya po na laging may trabaho yung mga employees. So, nandun din po talaga siya sa paniniwala na mas okay po talaga na may mapasahod at may maibigay na pasahod para makakain yung kanilang pamilya. So, more on the side of the people po talaga ang aming CEO. Pero of course, doon na rin po talaga papasok yung question na a business should be profitable in the first place to be sustainable. So,
correct. Tama yun si Jurina. So kahit since humanitarian ayaw mo mag-lay off, ang tanong pa rin, how will you sustain? Personally kami rin, we have companies, no? Family. We also have our NGO. We maintained opening. Wala rin tinanggal. Pero ang laging tanong is, how long? How long can you sustain? You can be operational, but how long can you take the hit? For how many more years? So, syempre, uunahin mo yung tao, pero hanggang kailan? Sabi ni Erica, ganda ng pasok ko sa HR, saktong pa-increase ang salary, papunta na siya sa exciting part. PS, supportive naman boss ko, hands-on siya sa HR, pero you have to prepare more for this exciting part. True. So, ito na, papunta na talaga tayo sa exciting part. Gaano ka ba ka-creative as HR to help? So, anong trabaho ni HR? HR should be the balance. The voice of the employee and the voice of the employer. Ayan, I don't know, Neds, medyo matagal na tayo sa industriya. One of the things that HR, kung gusto niyong tumagal sa industriya, kasing tagal ko, I'm already 46. I am been in the industry for 25 years already. If you want to survive in HR, one of the basic, most important trait that you have is creativity, magkaroon ka ng financial planning. Magaling ka dapat mag-budget, hindi ka waldas. Kasi sa HR, you are often working or operating on limited budget. Pero akala ng mga empleyado, ang dami-dami mong pa-games, ang dami-dami mong pa-ER, pa-engagement, hindi nila alam. It's the same fund that you are getting, maybe hindi nga nag-increase for the next 2 or 3 years. So how creative can you be? Let's just face it. I don't know, mamaya I'm interested to hear about the HR people here, no? With the wage hike increase na mangyayari sa June 4, 5, and respectively, marami na, naglalabasan na, diba? On different regions. What can we do as HR? I'm pretty certain ganito yan. Sasabihin, Neds, ito, mandatory to kasi batas. Kaso Neds, ito lang pera natin talaga. Tanggalin natin yung kagastusin sa wage hike. Ito na lang matitira. What can we do? Yun ang dapat malaman ng HR. Given the limited funds that you need to work on, what are the creative ways na pwedeng magdagdag bawas ka? Sa mga babae na humahawak ng budget ng pamilya, madali mo kung maiintindihan. Ang sweldo ng asawa, pareho lang, pero ang gastusin nag-iiba. Saan ka nagbabawas, saan ka nagdadagdag? That's the trait that you have to actually learn today. Number 1, eto na tayo sa exciting part. What are the HR ways to soften the blow? Ito mga kapatid is the best way and the best timing to redefine your organization. Yung mission, purpose, vision, at core value, laging importante yan. Pero ngayon, more than ever, kailangan natin siyang aralin. What do I mean by that? Kailangan, we are still holding true to our purpose, pero we have to soften the blow and see what are the ways we can soften the blow and still hold true to our purpose without, kumbaga, jeopardizing our purpose. So, dati business-centric tayo, customer-centric, sales-centric. Meaning, pag sabing centric, dun ang focal point, yun yung focus natin. Ngayon, HR, more than ever, we are calling all of you to become human-centric ang kultura. You can still be excellent, you can still be world-class, pero you have to start shifting to a people-centric workplace. Many of us grew up in the industry always hearing customers are king, diba? Clients are king, stakeholders are king. Now we have to actually look at the balance of becoming people-centric. Now, what are the ways that we can actually do that? Ano ba to? Naglolo ko ang aking... Adopt more flexible working arrangements. I am a consultant for a very big company in the US, operating in Canada, India, Philippines, and in the US. Sa kanya, flexible working arrangement means kahit anong oras ka mag-report ng trabaho. You define your own time. You define your own working hours. Work from home, you define what time you need to go home, what time you need to actually go to work. Ikaw ang magde-define, but you have to finish your 8 hours. So, yan na po ang usong trend ngayon, hindi lang sa Asia, lalo sa US at saka lalo sa Europe. Yan. Miss Daisy, pwede ba ito i-adapt sa Pilipinas? Why not? Kung afford kayo na magkaroon ng work from home and you're operating 24/7, why not? You can actually start doing this. Regular check-ins, mahal po ang magpagamot, mahal din lalo yung magkaroon ng intervention emotionally. So, walang bayad yung mangumusta, wala ring bayad yung magtanong sa mga empleyado. With the way we are doing either a hybrid or a work from home setup that is fully remote, it is important to have regular check-ins with your employee. Bakit to nasusoften yung blow yung gastos? Can you guys imagine how much is the cost of counseling? How much is the cost of, losing an employee to sickness or to death at that? When we could be focused on employees. Marami dito ganun, diba? It's nice to go back to the basic. Dati naman, when we were, I don't know with you guys, when we were young, bigyan lang kami ng certificate of appreciation, walang token, walang extra money, we were still good. Maging creative lang tayo more than ever. Okay? What else? We have to introduce new structures, agility and being nimble in your structures. This is relatively very important. Yun yung sinasabi ko. Kaya ba ng company nyo magkaroon ng hybrid working model? Bakit? Kasi even if, hindi masyadong mataas yung sweldo ng empleyado, if you're allowing them certain number of days to telework, this would also mean augmenting their expenses. How much is the travel expense? How much is the food that you have to pay pag sa labas versus nasa bahay? Yun yung mga maitutulong natin if we can arrange for a hybrid working model. HR has to accept the fact na marami has a hard time wanting to go back to 100% face-to-face work environment. Kasi many will argue with you, nakaya nga nung pandemic bakit hindi naman makaya at the very least hybrid? So creative dapat ang HR to start assessing which department yung talagang hindi pwedeng walang face-to-face, alin namang mga department pwedeng hybrid. Operationally also, from an employer perspective, makakatipid din sa gamit ng kuryente, gamit ng tubig, gamit ng internet, lahat yan, pati yung wear and tear ng assets nyo, it can also help. So lahat yan dapat tingnan ng HR. Flex time. Uso na yan. This is a trend. I'm hoping this comes to the Philippines eventually. But flex time, a lot of people are already doing flex time. So meaning 4 hours ng umaga, magtuturo muna ng bata in between, and then gabi ulit. The employer no longer checks the hourly, but the output of the employee by the end of the day. Basta natatapos mo yung trabaho in a quality manner, okay ka. Ang downside lang nun, wala kang overtime, diba? Kasi ikaw na nga, you design your own time. Flex place. Yan, narinig nyo na ba yan? Meaning work anywhere. So a lot of the companies also don't mind if you travel from, just to recuperate and have an emotional refresh with your families or traveling abroad, but still able to work, you can still fall under flex place. Yan yung sinasabing agility. Maximizing occupational health and safety. Marami sa atin for the past 2 years have focused on the pandemic and the physical aspect. A lot of us have forgotten the mental well-being aspect. So another ito, alalayan, mga HR, in terms of how we can be able to soften the blow in the emotional and mental wellness program ng mga empleyado. How do you do that? You can actually partner with a lot of companies that provides 24/7 free counseling. Hindi kailangan may bayad. If you can try increasing your network and listing down all the companies you can partner with, marami namang non-profit, wala rin namang mga organizations that are willing to do these things for free. If your company cannot afford to pay additional benefits for mental wellness counseling or mental wellness programs, there are many companies you can partner with for free, offsetting lang, diba? You can still get to give the employees what they want at relatively no cost, or even minsan nga mas may gain pa. Counseling is how much? $100 to $400 per hour. So mahal ang counseling. So kung meron kayong ways by which you can partner with humanitarian organizations that does this, it will definitely be very good. Third-party counselors, third-party organizations that does this will help you also a lot, because employees are able to open up very well if it's anonymous or done by PPL or third party. Number 2, you have to drive people transformation. And how do you do that? Personalized reward schemes. Ayan. Kadalasan sa HR, when we go to our CEOs, often we are being looked upon as an expense. With the numbers that we just saw right now, we know that we can't ask for more budget. We have to make do with what we have. So what can we do? There are many creative ways by which you can personalize a reward scheme without having to be costly. Lagi nating iisipin ngayon, if I'm supposed to do a program, how much will it cost me? Laging ganun talaga dapat ang aspect. But money should not be a deterrent for us also not to have all these activities dahil lang sa cost. Maraming pararaan. So adopt flexible compensation benefits. Huwag tayong maging rigid na ito HMO, ito lang gamitin mo. There are digital apps, there are digital platforms where flexible compensation benefits can be had. FlexBen before didn't actually successfully take off during our time, pero during pandemic, this actually took off more than what we thought would be very successful. Bakit? Kasi nowadays, per generation, per employee, you give them the ability to design what is best for them on a certain budget, mas na-appreciate ng mga empleyado. Let's say I don't have any children, mas gugustuhin kong gamitin probably yung fund na binibigay for my compensation to something else like travel, something else like gadget, more than just HMO for dependents. So gawin yung creative yon at gawin nyo ring flexible in the say that the employees have a say, can co-author and can co-design what is best for them. Uso na po yan. HR, kailangan matuto na rin tayong maging flexible. Creative, no cost rewards. So ganun din sa amin, what we do, we normally have a town hall, we feature people, we feature their life, we have a shooting, short videos of employees that did well, their stories. Yun, libre lang yun. It will cost time, but it will not cost much. But the ROI from an employee perspective of feeling appreciated, yung sense of belongingness, sense of pride, and affiliation to a company, that is what you call the personalized reward scheme that can go a lot of way. Next, reassessing performance and succession management to complement an agile and dynamic workforce. Kailangan ng performance and productivity interlinked. It's hard nowadays given that often you don't see them in the office. That's why you have to have all these, that we are no longer applying yung dati, yung administrative rigid 8-hour. It shouldn't be time-based anymore. Mga kapatid, outside the Philippines, it's no longer time-bound ang work. Outcome-based na po kadalasan ang trend natin. So I would challenge all of you to read. I challenge you guys to keep abreast on the global trends in HR practices, and you will be amazed how far behind Philippines is. Huwag nating gawing dahilan na just because we're in the Philippines, we can't adapt best practices from other global companies, kasi nauna na nga sila, which is best. If it's proven, apply the best practice here. Marami yan. With the pandemic, we know na biglang maraming namamatay, biglang maraming nagkakasakit. If we don't have a succession planning, business may not survive. Kaya kailangan meron tayong outcome-based performance at emergency succession planning. Yan. Kasi even if you survive the wage hike, kung wala namang managers, how much is your cost of attrition? How much also is your cost of hire? So what we're looking at right now is looking at all the aspects of HR where budget can be managed properly. Bawas dito lagay, reassess. But relatively, if you look at the whole annual budget, pareho pa din. This is what you need to start doing now. Skills for the future, mga kapatid, it is inevitable. We have to do a digital upskilling and reskilling. Sa recruitment na lang, may mga virtual na, may AI na, may virtual reality na. So what can we do? The things that can be automated, i-automate. Does that mean marami pa lalong mawawala ng trabaho? If you don't upskill, if you don't reskill, yes. But if you're able to have the agility to upskill yourself and learn, hindi ka rin naman maa-antiquate. So yan ang challenge. Enabling change. Ayan, yun yung sinasabi natin na kailangan nating i-reinvent not only the re-image the organization and redefine the org, tayo din as tao, as workforce, we have to rethink on how to adapt our tech-enabled sourcing and recruitment para makatulong din tayong makabawas sa gastos. Why am I giving all these cost-saving programs? Because these cost-saving programs, if you're able to convert your expense into money, it will give you more time to give back to your employees to augment the problems with yung cost of living in the form of benefits. So, kumbaga, ang tinuturo ko sa inyo, gumawa kayo ng pera in your own way. If you can find ways by which you can save money from this. Sasabihin mo sa employer mo, let me get this project. If I can get money from this and save money, can I put this on my program? This is what you're supposed to do now. So research, upskill, reskill on AI, virtual reality. So i-adapt natin yan sa HR. Some of the things that we can adopt is to sa recruitment, sa onboarding. Meron na ngayong site tour virtual. Dati, di ba, we have an HR person who does the NEO, new employee hire, itutour ka sa site. Ngayon, kailangan magawa natin ang virtual reality. Bakit? Your new hire, your possible hire don't need to commute, don't need to go to the site just to be able to see the office. You can actually do that at home or even before joining. So naa-appreciate yan. HR automations, kailangan we have to also know how our data. So ano yung ginagawa dyan? Di ba you can, like Amazon's, LinkedIn, if you upload your resume, you will be amazed how HR automations and AI gets all your information and then put it in the portal. Naka-pre-filled na yung mga applications mo. Yan yung mga ginagamit na yan. It will save money in terms of overhead expense, and it will also save money in terms of productivity. If you're still not digital, tell your employers to go digital now, not tomorrow, because that's the only way for your business to survive. You may have sales, but unless you are able to adapt with the digital world, we may not survive long. Learn how to use data science and AI applications. Yan. Pag nagawa natin kasi lahat yan and you have enough money, then better for us now. Kasi guys, ang concentration natin is not just the wage hike. Ang concentration natin, after na-implement natin yung wage increase sa minimum, paano naman the rest? We have to do distortion, kung meron man, we have to do across the board, increase kung kinakailangan. Otherwise, mawawalan din tayo ng empleyado because it will also cause demotivation. Yes? Question. Napagod ako. Asan na yung dalawa kong co-host para bumalik dito? Ayan.
Dito, ma'am.
Ayan. I really left a lot of time for Q&A because yung mga ine-explain natin are all strategies. Pero mas matututunan kasi nila NEDs, how do we put that in terms of cost? How do we put that in terms of numbers para augment yung, kasi yun naman ang bottom line dito eh. We're not supposed to talk about wage hike. What can you do with wage hike? Eh pag binigyan ka ng minimum wage order implementation, IRR implement mo, may pera ka sa wala, you have to implement. Yun naman yun eh. Diba? Ang trabaho natin yun is HR, kung pina-implement yan at nabawasan yung budget mo for the year, what can you do with the left budget that you have to still do all these things? Kung kulang at hindi ka makahingi ng more money, what are some of the programs you can implement and activities you can do to save money para meron kang perang gamitin? Does that make sense? Nakamute si Dens.
Yes, ma'am. Nag-mute kasi ako, ma'am. Naririnig yung ano eh. Naririnig yung mga alaga ko dito.
Ayan. What else? Okay, so yun, Q&A tayo. Jorina, anybody can ask. Anybody can make insights, comments, and suggestions. I want a more interactive, participative, what do you call this?
Please unmute sa lahat ng mga participant natin or kung possible, raise our hand para po sa mga questions nyo para sa ating speaker for today. Ayan, si Ma'am Erica.
Si Ma'am Erica. Please unmute lang po.
Hi ma'am, good afternoon.
Good afternoon!
Yes ma'am, actually natuwa ako sa discussion kasi super nakaka-relate ako. Gawa nga ng ever since 2017, I am preparing for this position. Kumbaga, upskilling lang ako ng upskilling. Then, yung mga proposal projects ko, actually, I'm about to suggest sa management. Then, dun sa virtual tour na sinabi mo kanina, actually, isa rin yan sa idadagdag ko sa boss ko kasi we're also in a flexible work arrangement and flexible setup. So, yung sa ngayon sa recruitment process din namin, I am currently designing mula sa sourcing ng applicants, sa filing ng job application ng mga aplikante para hindi na masyadong hassle pagpapunta sa office. So kumbaga more on virtual filing, and doon din sa employee engagement activity, honestly, meron na rin ako naka-prepare for the employees, kasi supposedly para siya sa hospitality and tourism sector, but eventually hindi kasi ako nakabalik sa dati kong industry. So ang isa siguro na natuwa ako, siguro yung ma'am, yung maghahanap ng activity na kahit walang budget pero may papasok pa rin na pera. Ang isa sa mga naisip ko kasi ma'am habang nagdi-discuss kayo is yung are you familiar with paper charcoal?
Paper what?
Paper charcoal. Paper charcoal po.
Sige.
Yung kasi before, uso na siya dito sa LB nung bata ako. Di ba yung mga papers na mga scratch papers, ganyan. Tapos, binababad siya sa, I'm not sure if water or may certain chemical things na na hinahalo. Mag-further conduct ako ng research bago ko siya i-propose sa boss ko in the near future. Pero maganda siya for the income of employees kasi yung, kumbaga, if ever na magkaroon ng face-to-face sa offices, tapos yung mga nasi-shred na documents, instead so pwede siyang pwede siyang i-recycle. Either pwedeng gawin mo siyang ulit papel or pwede mo siyang gawing paper charcoal. And then yung mga employees, halimbawa sa paper charcoal, pwede nilang pwede nilang gawing extra income. Depende na yun sa management kung paano yung magiging collective bargaining agreement. Then ang isa pa is yung home gardening para sa mga empleyado. Halimbawa, kung wala silang seeds, 'di ba? So, yung mga nagamit na crops, yung mga fruits, yun, pinapanood ko kasi siya before, then maganda siyang project kasi either pwedeng mabawasan yung gastos nila sa pagbili sa palengke ng ng mga gulay kasi mahal na rin ang gulay malaking bagay yon na so I think it would be very beneficial to the employees lalo na ngayon sa sobrang taas ng bilihin yung mga halimbawa itong carrots or mga yung onions, yung garlics, pwedeng itanim siya sa kahit sa lumang lalagyan ng ice cream. Ganon. Tapos papatubuin doon lalagyan ng lupa or ng other that would help para sa simple home gardening lang. It would help the employees to lessen their expenses. Although the management won't put too much effort para sa ikapabuti ng mga empleyado. Kumbaga, 'di ba? Malaking bagay 'yon na ma-boost din yung moral ng mga employees kasi may engage sila may engganyo sila na magtanim, 'di ba? Para hindi sila umasa sa pagbili sa palengke. Kumbaga, maging self-sufficient din sila somehow. And isa pa, dun sa mga nabanggit kong employee engagement activity, kasi nanalo kasi ako before, ma'am, ng isang parang free self-study upskilling process, ganyan. Tapos, ang title kasi niya is gamified leadership, na kung saan i-apply ko yung rules and regulation ng isang gaming app. Tapos, kumbaga, di ba, yung usually sa mga games, may mga ranking. Tapos, yan, i-apply ko siya. Tapos, kung sino yung at least mag-top 5 per scoring yon. Kumbaga, kung gano'ng kaganda yung activity nila sa participation, then, ano ko yun, at the end of the year, yung top 5 na yon, magkakaroon ng special prizes depending on their employee engagement scoreboard. Yun po.
Alam mo, ang daming magandang, thank you ha, Erica. Ang daming magandang activities ni Erica, mga ideas. Isa-summarize ko, no? The first being paper charcoal. Sabi ni Jadine, maganda daw yon. So, na-experience niya. Tama, diba? One of the best ways to be able to do this, diba marami tayong learning and development trainings. Dati kasi, if we had the money, we're so focused on, what they call this? We were so focused on leadership, 'di ba? Yung mga mamahaling mga training, right? But tama si Erica doon, right? Samahan natin ng mga livelihood trainings in between. That way, our employees can actually use the scrap into money. The things that they will learn as an engagement activity, they can use at home, transfer the knowledge, para kung hindi man sila ang gagawa, yung mga kapatid or mga kamag-anak can actually do that as a form of a livelihood. Second thing that Erica made a point on is yung tinatawag nating from farm to table. Diba? So hindi mo naman kinakailangan ng farm or garden to table. Kahit maliit lang, diba? Yung sinasabi ni Erica, even on plastic containers, you can start with your own small vegetable plants and then in the hopes that maging self-sustaining siya. Parang kami, we have a calamansi tree in the garden. All year round, nagbubunga. So, ang laking tipid, diba? Not only is it fresh, tipid din siya. So, ayun, another way yon. At saka yung third na sinasabi niya, yung leadership board. Effective yan ha, Erica. Very effective yung gamification. One of the things that you engage employees about, visual pa siya. And very least ang cost is the gamification of activities and then the use of leadership boards. Yung sinasabi mo, top 5, top 3, whoever ranks the top most will get a certain award. Ang maganda nun, hindi automatic sa lahat, diba? You are engaging them, you are educating them also to have high performance, and then whatever limited budget you have, naka-focal point. And then the rest, what can it do from a cultural perspective na iinganyo lahat na maging kagaya nun. Now, if you do such an activity, by the end of the year, not only are you able to work with limited budget, yung budget mo nagagamit sa wage hike, na gagamit mo siya for yung market alignment, kasi you are doing all these things to learn how to make money as well. Convert expense into profit. So it works both ways. Nakakatulong sa'yo as a person, nakakatulong sa empleyado, and nakakatulong din sa management. Because, di ba, yung scrap nagiging ability pa para ma-engage imbis na maglalabas naman ng pera. Wonderful, wonderful. I like your ideas, Erica. Ang sarap mong katrabaho. So, I like people like you kasi hindi siya naka-box. You are working outside the box or as if there's no box. That's the good perspective. Ayan.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, our yung LB kasi was well known for being the special science and nature city of the Philippines. Napakaraming syempre andito ang mga several government agencies like si ERI, si BIFAR, si DOST. So bata pa lang ako, highly aware na talaga ako sa mga LGU projects na ginagawa dito. And dito rin kasi nagsimula yung paggamit ng paper bags instead of plastic. Dito kasi nagsimula yun. Kaya marami akong pwedeng ma-suggest, not just for our, from my employer, I can also help sa whole HR community if ever needed.
O ayan, Neds, Julina, markahan nyo na si Erica para sa mga ganyang programs as a resource. And tawag dito, passionate siya sa ganyang bagay, so kailangan magkaroon din kayo ng mga ganyang programs. Nice! Any more? Neds and Jorina? Asan na itong mga aming mga hosts? Question.
Ma'am, ano ko lang, sabi ni Ma'am Janine, actually para kasing nasabi nyo kanina ni Nedy. Sabi ni Ma'am Janine, maganda po ang paper charcoal. May classmate ako nung elementary na gumagawa po niyan at binibenta. Hehehe. O diba sinama ko yan? Binababad po daw nila yung crumpled paper sa water with salt po ata. Ayan. Ma'am Jorina, do you have any question for Ma'am? Because parang as I check with our Facebook live, medyo ang dami nang nagme-message sa akin. Gusto daw nila yung topic but they have to leave. Ay, naku, nakakasayang naman. Nandun pa lang tayo sa exciting part. Sabi nga ni Ma'am Erica, sayang naman at kailangan ng umalis ng ating mga participant dahil nga po, syempre, whether we like it or not, dahil nga bumalik na sa face-to-face, meron tayong mga on-site na ginagawang check sa ating mga tao. Yan, yung trabaho ng HR, di ba?
Correct. Si Belen yata dito, okay lang daw ba mag-ask ng hindi related sa wage hike?
Yes, ma'am. Nag-message po kami ng okay po. Pero wala pa po siyang message.
Ako, ma'am, meron po akong question, Ma'am Daisy.
Sige po.
Kasi po, Ma'am Daisy, dun sa company po namin, 29 years na siya. Very traditional po yung aming company. Nasa retail industry and also manufacturing industry. Ngayon, lagi ko sinisikap na i-innovate pa at malagay talaga ma-incorporate yung agile working such as yung teleworking at yung outcome-based performance metrics. Kaso nga lang nahihirapan ako kasi pagdating sa retail, mahirap siya. And pagdating sa manufacturing, piecework kami furniture, piecework. So, it's very hard. Paano mo siya magagawa? Like, do you have any ideas po kaya pagdating sa ganun?
Jorina, ako din kasi I used to work for retail and manufacturing. So ramdam kita. Lalo kung sa retail ka, may ugali sila na kunyari open sila for new ideas. I had a boss before, Daisy, do this. O ginawa ko naman, kinareer ko for a year. Tapos ang dami-dami naming discussions. Pagdating sa after a year, bigla decision niya, ayoko, balik mo sa dati. Di ba mapapa-face pa moment ka na lang. So ganun talaga sa retail. Ang hirap kasi kaagad i-innovate i-introduce yung innovation and agile thinking, no? Kasi it was brought about by years of that kind of mindset. Now, the best way to go about that is yung parang outcome based. Sinabi mo kanina furnitures, 'di ba? Pag titingnan mo, in pandemic maganda nga siya kasi para kang nagkaroon ng anong tawag dito ng case study na actual. Dati kasi pwede mo sabihin, Jorina, ma'am, pwede yung telecommunication kasi dinadala natin sa manufacturing kasi sa isang sa pabrika sila gagawa. Mati na lang sa bahay nila, tapos paggawa na, dadali na lang dito. Di ba ang hirap-hirap kung pa-approve sa kanila yan? Kasi ang gusto lagi nakikita, baka daw tamad-tamadan. Siguro, one way, I guess, again, it's an uphill battle, no, Jorina? Pero siguro you can ask management to give you case study. Halimbawa, ma'am, pwede ba yung mga performers natin, mga top 2, di ba? Yung mga magagaling mong skilled. Halimbawa, sabihin mo, gawin nating test case, ma'am. Gawin nating hybrid setup. May time silang dito, may time na majority. Piecemeal kasi, di ba? Gawin mo halimbawa, 5 share for X amount. Sabihin mo, ma'am, ibibigay natin lahat yung materials, pero hayaan natin sa bahay. Tingnan natin kung anong mas mabilis. Sa bahay ba ginagawa o nandito sila? Kasi the only way mapapatunayan mo yan, Jorina, if you have an actual costing. So, kailangan ng pinamuhong gawin, yung talagang magaling. Sasabihin sa'yo ng boss mo niyan, baka itakbo yung materials. Baka, kaya nga kailangan, meron kang way, diba, Jorins? Natatawa ka. May risk yun. Baka mamaya, ibigay mo sa kanila yung ganun. One of the things we have to learn is to trust our employees. Trust our tao din. Diba? Kaya nga sabi ko sa'yo, piliin mo. Gamitin mo yung idea ni Erica kanina, leadership board. Gawin mo siyang reward scheme, personalized reward scheme. Ma'am, itong top 2 skilled worker natin, si Mang ganito na 10 years na talaga, kahit nakapikit, kayang gawin. Bakit kaya, ma'am, di natin siya bigyan ng halimbawa, initial order na sa bahay niya gagawin, mas marami kaya siyang magagawa pag sa bahay o kailangan nandito siya palagi. Tapos gawin mo siguro yung ginagawa ko ngayon. 'Di ba nag-aral ako ng pastry and baking. Yung mga parents with special needs kasi they don't have ability or the time to be able to have a full-time work. So, one of the ways that I do it is magbigay ka ng puhunan, turuan mo sila how to do it and then puhunan, and then let's see after 1 month kumita ba yung pera nila o hindi. So siguro magganong ka ng ganong program on top of what they are doing. Baka naman gawin mong performance incentive, may konting maliit kang capital for them to start their own business. Mayroon nga lang risk yun. You might lose good employees kasi baka maisip nilang magtayo na lang ng negosyo. Pero in essence, kung nagtayo sila ng negosyo, pwede namang hindi mo sila empleyado, pwede namang gawin mo silang partner. Does that make sense, Julina? Diba? I mean, kung hindi siya empleyado, convert mo siya to a business partner, meaning sa mga small businesses, kung negosyante na yan, sa kanya mo kukunin ngayon yung mga orders. Nabawasan ng overhead mo, pareho pa rin ang capital mo ng materials for your cost. Diba? Kailangan mo lang talaga, Julina, matapang ka talagang mag-explore. Matyaga kang kumatok. And then pangatlo, it pays to use yung alam mo sa HR in such a way na hindi siya intrusive, yung hindi sila natatakot sa change kasi sa manufacturing tsaka retail, takot sila sa change. So dahan-dahanin mo. Diba? Does that make sense? Kasi outcome-based yun, diba? Uy, si ganito, si Mang Kanor, siya yung best performer natin in a year. Sir, you won 5,000 pesos. Ayan. Sa 5,000, sir, anong gusto mong negosyo? Siya skill niya rin. Diba? So, gina-graduate mo siya from being empleyado to become employer. Eventually, multiplication. Ikaw naman, ang nakuha mo sa kanya is loyalty. Ay, kung hindi dahil dun sa company namin na nagbigay sa akin ng unang puhunan na 5,000, paano na? So yun, may partner ka na. Diba? If you look at that concept, multiply ka. Ano mas mahal, empleyado na may benefits habang tumatanda, may nahayaan mo siya maging independent, maging partner. Bumababa ang overhead mo, tumataas ang cost of living capacity ng bawat lahat. Does that make sense, Serena?
Opo, pwede po. Ngayon ko alam po na pumasok. Ang ganda po ng idea nyo. Sobrang outside of the box. Grabe.
O, diba? Negosyante rin kasi ako, kaya alam ko, diba? Sa non-profit kasi, yan ang talent ko, non-profit kami. So, wala kaming pera palagi. So, we have to make do. Laging hihingi ng pera sa yung pang scholarship, laging hihingi ng tulong sa iyo financially. Mauubos ka agad ng resource namin, lalo pandemic. So, ang ginawa namin is to multiply by making them independent so that they too can pay forward. Imagine, di marami kang supporter, marami pang tumutulong. Diba? Next.
Ma'am, we have question from Ma'am Charmaine. May tanong po ako regarding po sa increase sa wages. Ma'am, paki-unmute po.
Hello ma'am, good afternoon po.
Good afternoon, Ms. Charmaine. Yes po.
Ganito po kasi yung strategy ng aming establishment with regards sa wages. Yung monthly basic salary po, nag-a-add din kami. Aside sa monthly basic salary, nag-a-add po kami ng monthly allowances o di kaya honorarium sa employee para makasave po kami ng cost in terms sa employer share ng SSS, PhilHealth or Pag-ibig. Kasi kung the higher the monthly kung higher ang monthly basic salary, higher din ang babayaran ng employer sa employer share ng SSS, Pag-ibig at saka PhilHealth. Now here comes yung wage hike na additional 32 pesos dito sa aming region. So, ang mangyayari po, magpa-plus po doon sa minimum wage earners yung 33 pesos. Sila po yung entry level, yung mga minimum wage earner. And then ang next level po kasi is yung monthly basic rate na yung mga section heads po na halos konti na lang yung pagitan nung sweldo nila na monthly basic salary and against doon sa possible na monthly basic salary pag na-implement na yung plus 33 pesos. So, kumbaga po, to summarize, yung monthly basics, yung next, konti na lang po ang pagitan ng section heads at saka rank and file. So ngayon po, ang first priority ng aming establishment is ifa-follow namin yung mandatory na wage hike na plus 33 pesos dito sa aming region. Ang pinopropose ko po kasi is, since maliit na lang yung pagitan nung section heads at saka yung rank and file, mag-i-increase din yung section heads po. Ngayon, ang tanong po nila sa akin, which I really don't have much idea, ma'am, is yung kung mag-salary increase po yung section heads, pwede po ba na sa allowance na lang ilalagay, hindi po doon sa monthly basic?
Ayan. Maganda yung tanong mo, Charmaine. Okay. Pagdating sa minimum wage order kasi, talagang wala tayong choice, di ba? Kailangan nating sundin ang batas. Sabi mo nga, yun talaga ang unang-una nating gawin. Ipantay lahat sa minimum wage. Kanina, bago kami mag-live, yan actually yung pinag-uusapan namin ni Jurina at ni Nedy. Kasi pag in-implement mo yan, domino effect. Tama, Charmaine? Sabi mo nga, magdidikit na yung entry dun sa mga section heads mo.
Yes po, ma'am.
So pag nangyari yon, laking problema mo kasi una, magre-reklamo, employee moral, employee engagement. Kasi sabi, ano pa naging section head ako, di gawin mo na lang ako minimum wage, di ba? Ngayon, there is no fast rule, no? There is no hard fast rule, Charmaine, in terms of how you would want it to be done. Right? Kasi ano naman ang batas, basta anything above the minimum, may leeway ang management. So,
Okay po.
ang tingin naman kasi dyan ay total compensation. Diba? So, yung sinasabi mo na combination of allowance and minimum salary, and salary.
Basic salary po.
Basic salary, ginagawa yan. Kasi sa salary, tatamaan ng tax, tatamaan ng mga contributions mo sa SSS, BIR,
Yes,
lahat, diba? Domino effect. Marami nga umaayaw ng increase kasi yung konting piso mo, pag in-annualize mo, mapupunta sa kabilang bracket, kinain ng mas malaking tax, ibalik mo na lang ako sa dating sweldo. Ayan, tawag si Nedy, may ganun yan Charmaine. In such a case as HR, ang suggest ko sa'yo, maggawang ka ng 2 options. First one being yung tinatawag natin, kung maaapektuhan ka ng distortion, meron namang mga, ayan, nag-uusap din kami, maglalabas naman ng implementing rules and regulations ang DOL tungkol dyan In case of distortion on wage, ano yung pwede mong gawin? Pero advisory lang lagi ang IRR. Diba? Kasi basta na-comply mo yung minimum, how you execute the rest, ano naman yan, bibigyan ka nila ng leeway. Yung isang gagawin mo is paano kung magbibigay ka ng increment market correction, 'di ba? So bibigyan mo lahat ng increase across the board kasi nga tumaas ang minimum mo. Kaso baka hindi kaya ng kumpanya. So ang gagawin mo ngayon, yung sinasabi mo ngayon, pwede ba ma'am na antasan ko ang allowance versus salary rate or monthly salary? Pwede. Kasi allowance yun Pero dapat tanggap nila na yung allowance nila magiging taxable yan pag more than 90,000 in a year. Doon ka magiging creative. I-distinguish mo yung de minimis versus doon sa magiging creative scheme mo. Kasi maraming ways by which to do that. Pwedeng in the form of a representation, basta mayroon kang resibo, pakukuha mo siya ng wala. Pero ang word of warning ko lang, pagka ganyan ang scheme mo, whether monthly salary or combination, after 2 years mong nai-implement yan it becomes already a practice na hindi mo na siya pwedeng tanggalin. Otherwise,
Yes,
it will fall under diminution. So, pwede, walang nag-i-stop sa'yo na ilagay mo siya under allowance. Ang critical lang dito, Charmaine, yung the way you communicate. Kasi, ang impact naman ng mas mataas ang allowance, hindi gumalaw ang monthly salary, ang basis naman ng tao ng marketability niya, salary, hindi allowance. So,
Yes,
halimbawa, section head ako, pero ang liit nung salary ko, kahit bigyan mo ko allowance, medyo mahihirapan kang i-defend yon kung gusto mo ng bagong employer at mas mataas ang rate mo. So, ikaw lang, Charmaine, ang mas nakakaalam. Ano yung kultura nung klase ng demographics na empleyado meron ka? Are they particular with salary? Or are they just particular with net cost? Wala akong pake kung sweldo siya o allowance siya, basta usapan net pay. Kung gano'n ang majority ng kultura dun sa work mo, good for you. Pwede mong gawin yan. Pero kung ang combination ng demographics ng generation at age mo or workforce management mo, may mga thinking people na hindi, gusto ko rate monthly kasi pang-market ko yan sa labas, medyo mahihirapan ka. Kaya kailangan dalawa. Did I answer it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Naku,
For now, ma'am, ang ginagawa ko para ma-back up yung proposal ko na increment sa section heads is nag-benchmark ako.
yan.
So, sa hospital setting kasi ito, ma'am. So,
The best yan, ma'am. The best yan. Hindi mo kailangan magbayad ng mga market data kasi mahal yan Alam mo, gamitin mo yung pay scale. Kung gusto mo yung pinakamabilis, pay scale mo lang. Yung pinakamalapit within your industry. More or less, i-average mo.
Opo, naka-gauge na po ako, naka-gather na ako ng data. Then another one is yung pay structure. Kaso lang po, I also attended yung webinar sa pay structure, designing the pay structure dito sa, thank you nga pala sa HR Calabarzon for the idea. Opo, kaso lang po, nung gi-apply ko na siya, parang hindi kaya sa management kasi ang ginamit ko lang na breadth and depth is 25%.
Mahal.
Tapos
mahal
parang,
kaya.
parang mahirapan talaga ang management. Yung na-foresee ko na po na ganon. So, ang ginawa ko, nag-less ako sa 25%. May ibang levels na nag-less talaga. So, yun po, hopefully, I will receive positive feedback from the management para matulungan din yung ibang employee. Kasi right now, medyo tagilid po yung sa section heads.
Naku po.
Kumbaga ang competitive namin, yung rate namin is 85.7% against doon sa lang po, yung present market value nung salary doon sa section heads na yun, yung position na po.
Kaya kita suggestion, huwag ka munang matakot agad dun sa first proposal. Ito, sa tagal ko sa HR, ganito to, ma'am. Ang una mong ilalabas, yung pinakamataas mo.
Pinakamataas.
Pinakamataas mong budget, yung kabugera, yung talagang nakaka-heart attack. Yan ang bigay mo kaagad. Hindi, totoo. Kasi yung ganyan, hindi natin afford, diba? Kasi yung susunod mo na mas reasonable, mas madaling ma-approve. Kasi pag binigay mo na agad yung mas mababa, tapos hindi pa i-approve, wala ka na ibababa.
Okay, ma'am.
So,
Thank you, ma'am.
Bibigyan mo yung pinakamataaas. Kukontrahin ka dyan. At least meron ka nakatago. Ito, medyo dahan-dahan. Tapos yung 25% huwag mong gawin na biglaan in a year. Pwede mo siyang i-spread out.
Opo, naka-spread siya by steps, ma'am.
Yun.
Steps.
Yan.
Opo.
Pero bigay mo talaga yung pinakamalaki muna agad.
Opo, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for the input. Thank you so much.
Okay lang yan. Gusto ko nga, kaya nga mas maikli yung dagdag ko. Gusto ko yung discussion para mas maraming natututo. At gusto ko naririnig kayo. Ayan.
Salamat, Ma'am Daisy. Salamat, HR
Thank
Calabarzon.
you. Ano pa po? Any more questions? Masarap tong mga ganitong discussion. Libre lang to. Dapat you guys take advantage of it. Si Ned's tumatawa lang.
Hindi naman kasi naka-unmute ako tapos biglang nag-share tayong good stuff ko. Kaya po natawa ako. Pati siya nag-cover ng Ma'am, meron akong question dito. Knowing the distortion and wala pang IRR, some of the HR is using Pineda formula. Mali po ba yun? O meron po kayong ibang suggested na formula para makita yung distortion wage?
Marami naman kasing ways to actually get it, no? Ako personally, wala namang sinasabi kong hindi siya yung the best. Hindi rin naman sinasabi ko sabing hindi rin siya pwede. Kasi kayo ang mas nakakaalam sa totoo lang. Hindi rin, naiintindihan ko rin naman yung sentiments ng iba kasi yung IRR sasabihin susunod pero 1 year na hindi pa sumusunod yung IRR. So minsan ganon. So nahihirapan. So again, as I always say in HR, there is no hard fast rule. There is no one trick pony in HR. Kung ako sa inyo, tingnan nyo. Diba? Kung yung formula ba yun, kahit naman yung sabihin mo pinaka-best yun sa industry, kung regrets naman dun sa management, wala din. Doesn't really matter. If I were you, don't stick with just one. Come up with several variations. I cannot answer those questions for you because I don't know your company's culture. I don't know your company's overall state. I don't know if that's the best formula for you. I don't know if what your compensation philosophy is. Lahat kasi yan, kailangan mo i-consider as a whole before ka mag-make ng business case. But if you're asking me whether you have to wait for the IRR to implement, if you are not a risk taker, antayin mo siya. Kasi that will buy you time. But if you're a person naman na pro-employee, kasi hindi naman nag-iintay ang pagtaas ng mga bilihin, then go for it. Madaling mag-correct, madaling mag-apologize later. Kung sumobra ka pa, di wala ka i-correct. Magte-thank you pa sila sa'yo. Kesa lahat sila galit sa'yo kasi hindi ka gumalaw.
Yes, correct. Ganyan din yung sinabi ng boss ko sa akin. Sabi niya, wag na nating antayin. Let's do it. And we have, at least binigyan ko siya ng konting time to decide. Kasi gusto ko lang sana eksakto sa cut-off. Ang hirap kasi mag-increase na hindi eksakto sa cut-off. Lalo na yung mga mandatories. Ang hirap maghati. Actually, yung increase ng June 4 na naapektuhan yung cut-off namin. Hindi ko alam kung pwede ba ako mag-advance o mag-late. Kasi syempre pag nag-late ka, hindi pwede. Pag nag-advance ka naman, mas malala kasi medyo malaki yung implication with the management. Kaya sabi ko, ang hirap naman. Pati tas naka-payroll system ka pa. My God. My God. My God na lang po ako talaga. Yan. How about you, Dorina? Ngayon na wala pang advice for Cavite na bagong increase. Knowing na may pinaglalaban ang ating mga government employees or ating mga LGU na ang ating governor and vice governor na pinaglalaban na ipantay ang minimum wage ng Cavite sa NCR dahil malapit.
Pareho lang naman halos. Ang tumbling, isang singgot lang ng hangin. Pareho lang ang expense. Tama naman yung kasi talaga.
Kaya so ma'am, hindi ko alam kung napapakinggan ba tayo ng ano. Siyempre ma'am, marami rin pong business na malamang magsasarado within the Cavite if mag-i-increase ng same minimum wage for the NCR.
Tungkol naman dyan, Ma'am Neds, gusto din sa CEO. Ngayon, sabi ko na nga kailangan ng maghanda dahil nararamdaman ko na rin Talagang totoo naman yung sinabi ni Ma'am Daisy. Ilang singhot na lang, pareho lang naman talaga yung expenses. So, ang napag-usapan namin is kailangan talaga i-push ang income generating. Mas pagandahin pa yung mga strategies.
Yan talaga yun.
Yun talaga.
Kasi kung hindi mo kaya, wala kang pandagdag ng pera, gumawa ang pera. Yun dapat magaling HR doon, make money. Yung si Erica, dami mga ideas niya na kung dati puro tayo self-motivation, self-improvement, livelihood improvement tayo ngayon. Tingnan nyo. Kasi talagang you have to do that. We have to graduate from employee to employer. Totoo lang. I mean, why am I saying this? Kasi dati rin akong empleyado. Guys, ang sarap mag-employer. Masakit sa ulo pero there is so much freedom into that. Because, you know, you get a holistic perspective. So, agree ako dyan, Jurina. Dapat, at saka si Jurina matapang yan kasi may contingency fund. May contingency fund. Sana all. Mapapasana all ka na lang. Ay, nako.
Mamayaman yan si Ma'am Jurina. Ang daming business dito sa Cavite.
Oo.
Ang mahirap lang part sa kanya, ma'am. Siya na yung HR, siya pa yung boss.
O kaya, maganda yan Kaya ano siya, kayang-kaya niya yan. Uutang tayo kay Jurina. Yan. Para sa patukan ako ni Julie.
Pautang po ng isang aircon. Okay po, may message po dito si Ma'am Erica pa rin. Talagang ating love na si Ma'am Erica. Feeling ko nasa trabaho si Ma'am kagaya ko. Kaya sabi niya, grabe po kasi habang nasa duty ako, tawa ako ng tawa. Sobrang dami kong natututunang bagong techniques. Ma'am, makipagkwentuhan ka sa amin, hindi lang techniques mo. Makukuha mo. Ma'am, pwede ko ba kayong chikahin via LinkedIn or any social meds available to connect with you? Sobrang natutuwa po kasi ako sa talk nyo. With Ma'am Daisy, yes. You could contact her sa LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look for Daisy Callanta.
At kayan buo, kasi marami akong kapangalan. So,
Ay,
hindi
oo.
yan. Para siguraduhin nyo, ako lang yung ma-add. Kidding aside. No, but yes, I'm willing to actually have more friends. Add me in LinkedIn para naman matulungan kayo. If I can also help you get connected to people that I know, why not? Why not? Or just for being a mentor at that. Oo, yan. Si Naneds, mga ano ko yan. Mga katsokaran ko yan. Yan, si Darky.
Guys, huwag kayong mabibigla kasi kahit minsan si Ma'am ay mentor speaker ko na yan. Nagtatanong pa rin po siya sa akin.
Oo! Uy, Neds, ano yung ganito? Oo naman, minsan natawarin ako niyan eh. Ma-mentor na kita, bakit bawal magtanong? Masarap magtatanong. At saka nervyosa rin ako. Uy, Neds, parang ang tanda ko na parang hindi ko ready sa ganito. Turuan mo ko. You know, one of the best things you can do is never be afraid to ask, never be afraid to seek help also. And it's always nice to surround yourself with same group. You can never learn everything. So yan, lagi sinasabi mentor niya ako, pero mentor ko rin siya in many aspects. Yun ang masaya dito sa HR world eh. We need parang ito, lalo pag math, naghanap ako ng mentor lagi sa math.
Oh, no.
Anyway, Ma'am Julina, do we have any question from our Facebook? I'll check with our attendance if may question ng ating mga participant.
Oo, tahimik.
Tahimik sila, parang nabigla sila ng bonggang-bongga.
Para sila.
Ma'am, eto, may question tayo sa ating attendance. Oh, parang nasagot na to ni Ma'am. How a company will survive this wage hike in times of pandemic? Parang inulit niya lang yung question ko. What is the main, can I be a good candidate? Teka lang.
Ay,
How to present your proposal for HR program to your CEO who always has concerns on budget? How to convince him?
Talagang mahihirapan ka mag-convince kasi trabaho ng CEO, mahirapan ka kasi ayaw niyan maglabas ng pera. Bakit? Kasi ang nasa utak niyan, if I'm gonna put my CEO hat, I will challenge. Bakit? Kasi ang hawak mo lang, hindi lang isa. Ang trabaho is to keep everybody afloat in the business. So ayaw mong may mawawalan. Normal po talaga na dumaan ka sa karayom pagdating sa CEO because if your CEO will not do that, you also don't like to report to a person na oo lang ng oo, hindi naiintindihan ng business because there will be no business to begin with for a long time pag ganyan. But lagi kong sinasabi, numbers, nagbibiro lang ako when it comes to math, no? But one of the things that I always use is numbers. Numbers will not lie. Kaya nga ang ganda ng ginagawa ni Erica, 'di ba? Meron na siyang study, yung sinasabi ni Jurina, 'di ba? Sabi ko lagyan na ng mga budget forecast, magkaroon kayo ng options 1, 2, 3, yung pang long term, mid term, small term, para kahit anong tanong niya meron kang isasagot. Kasi CEOs are often hard to find kasi wala silang oras. So the moment nandun ka, be prepared. Andun ka na nga, tapos sinarahan kang pinto, wala ka ng BCD. Wala na, di ba? So kung kaya mo mag-prepare ng A to Z, prepare mo na yan. Ay, hindi pwede sa ganitong budget. Manteka, ito. Pwede? Hindi. Ito ma'am, hanggang hindi ka uuwi, hanggat wala kang nakukuha palabas. Tama ba ako doon, Neds? Yun ang ginagawa lagi ng HR. Lagi malaking portfolio niyan. Lagi yung pinaka-best muna. Tawaran yan eh. Laging tawaran yan sa loob. Pero at the end, it is actually the meeting of the minds. Kaya nga sinasabi, ang isa pang tip na bibigay ko sa inyo, kung alam kong walang budget, ang hinihingi ko na lang approval. What do I do? That's why I gave you all those things a while ago. These are cost measures na pwede kang kumuha ng pera. Diba? What you can save in one aspect of your program, you can use. So, ganyan ako lagi, sir, wala namang extra cost yan eh. Ha? Ganito. Sir, sadali lang, walang cost. Kasi yung perang hinihingi ko sa'yo, actually, kinuha ko yan dito. Alam mo, mapapa-approve mo sa CEO yon. Pag ang bottom line mo, wala kang hininging pera. Kundi yung meron ka na. Ganun ang dapat maintindihan mo sa HR. Sa ngayon kasi, siguro it's something that we have learned yung mas mga older HR practitioners like us. Kasi nung panahon namin, wala talaga budget. Halos wala. Ang laging may budget lang nun yung mga profit generating. So natuto kaming maging creative. Natuto kami what we have, we flourish. This pandemic taught us to just go back to the basic.
May question tayo, pero parang feeling ko question siya for the president. Pero as a CEO, sa tingin mo, ma'am, how does raising the minimum wage benefit the economy?
Marami. Ako personally, maganda. Hindi ako running for president pero raising kasi the wage creates a domino effect too. Bakit? Pag tumataas ang sweldo ng tao, tumataas din ang capability to buy. Pagka may capability kang may pangbayad ka, you are also able to support small businesses. Lahat supposed to lead tulungan. Kaso ang masakit, kung ang wage hike mo, makakain lang ng tax. Kasi yun naman dapat din sana yung kinukompute din. Yung mga nag-wage hike orders, so nakikipag-usap din sa BIR. Anong implications nun sa table? Pag ito ba ini-implement, nalusaw ba, nalutang pa? Parang wage hike lang sa papel, pero ang implications sa tax ay malaki.
Yung wala ka naman take home.
Kung ako ang magiging presidente ng Philippines, which I doubt, hindi mangyayari in my lifetime, no? But those are things I would recommend. You know, dapat yung mga sanga ng gobyerno nag-uusap. Diba? If I'm gonna increase something, what will it entail against BIR? What will be the impact to SSS, PhilHealth, and all the things overall? Kasi papugian lang nasabi lang na nag-wage hike, pero hindi naman din naisip ng maigi o napag-isipang maigi yung consequence. Yun. Gumawa sila GC, period. Loka-loka to si Eric.
I hope nasagot natin yung mga questions sa ating Facebook Live, sa ating attendance and sa Zoom. Last call for our participant. Do you have any question? Any question? Lalo na kapag dating sa labor relation. Naku, hindi po namin idagdag sa ating pagpapakilala. Si Ma'am Daisy Callanta po ang mentor ng ating Philippine HR Group President and Founder, Sir Darwin Rivers. Hi, Sir Darwin. Sana magaling ka na. Do we have questions?
Darwin! Lagi yan sinasabi mentor niya ako, pero mentor ko rin yan. Ayan. Siguro sa susunod, hindi na ako nag-prepare. Siguro sana pala prepare ko yung ano. No? Nawala ako.
Nandito pa, ma'am.
Ayun. Siguro next time dapat prepare ko Neds yung tax gawin. Yung tawag dito, yung tax implication, yung minimum magkano sa tax table yon. Makikita nyo halos kinain din. Hindi ko nilabas ngayon kasi di mo naman sa akin sinabi, pero kung i-compute ko, lusaw. Lusaw din po yung
Kagaya ng sinabi natin kanina, pinag-uusapan natin before the webinar start officially. Di ba, ma'am? Kaya nagsabi ako ayoko ng English kasi mapupunta sa tax. Mas better pa na nandito lang ako sa ganito because I know I could take home the same net pay that I could do, or imbes na madagdagan ako, nasa papel ko lang nakita. Yeah. Anyway, let's parang nawawala ng signal si
Mga kapatid, kung magaling kayo sa tax, mag-compute kayo.
Sobra ma'am. Pag-aralan natin yan mga ka-HR, lalo na sa ating mga payroll and compensation, sa ating compensation and benefits na mga ka-HR dyan. Let's check, siguro medyo pwede nating lagyan ng additional webinar for that. Tama ba, Ma'am Jorina?
Pwede. Pwede po kayo mag-request ng mga ibang topics na interesado kayo para mas maganda pa ang ating mga learning sessions na to come.
Pero anyway, mga ka-HR, iniimbitahan ko ang mga taga-IMOS, Bacoor o DASMA. We are always, okay, always to always, nagkakaroon po tayo ng one-on-one or 1 or 2 or 1 or 3 training regarding sa compensation and benefit. Just PM me or Zorina and we will be glad to help you. Anyway, Ma'am Zorina, let's thank and give our certificate of appreciation to Ma'am Daisy.
Of course, it's an honor, and Miss Daisy HR Calabarzon presents this certificate of appreciation to Ma'am Daisy Callanta for sharing her invaluable knowledge and expertise as a resource speaker for the 55th HRE Knowledge entitled Can Companies Withstand the Wage Hike Amidst the Pandemic? Learn how HR can help soften the blow. Via Zoom and Facebook Live at 2 o'clock p.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. Given this 28th day of May 2022, signed by Jorina Caparal, the co-founder, and Ms. Nedy Estrella, CHRP and CPHR, the founder. Thank you, Ma'am Daisy, for a very wonderful talk. Maraming nag-enjoy. Kitang-kita ko.
Yes,
Talagang dami ko natutunan din.
Yes,
Thank
Ma'am
you.
Daisy, in behalf of mga participants this afternoon, is it possible to share the presentation material this afternoon?
Pwede naman, bakit hindi?
Okay, narinig niyo mga ka-HR. Excuse me. We are sharing the presentation material this afternoon sa lahat ng paid participant na magre-request ng e-certificate. Linawin lang po namin, ang e-certificate po ay ipapadala sa inyong email. Kaya paki-sure po na accurate yung email nyo. After 7 working days po. 7 working days po ang pinapakiusap namin. Hindi po kasama ang Saturday, Sunday, and holiday. Please ensure na tama po o accurate ang inyong first name, middle initial, and last name. And pakilagay po ang reference and proof of payment para po madali ang validation. We will accept payment until Wednesday next week. And of course, lagi namin sinasabi, we are not accepting e-certificate requests via email or messenger for auditing purposes. The GCash number po, wag po masyadong mahehesitant kasi dalawa po ang GCash number ng HR Calabarzon. Isa pong 0919, isang 009-6339 at isang, anong number nga yan, Ma'am Jorina?
Yung isang number, dalawa yung ating number, isang 0919-009-6339 at yung isa naman ay 0927-140-1360.
Sa pag-upload po, pakigawa pong PDF ang ating proof of payment. And of course, syempre Ma'am Jorina, hindi pwedeng matapos ang ating HRE knowledge without picture taking.
Yeah. Okay, so lahat po ay i-request lang namin na i-on po ang ating mga camera para sa picture taking natin.
Ma'am, magaling ka dyan. Kayang-kaya mo yan.
Okay, so ang dami naman palang magagandang mukha dito. Nakikita ko na.
O, ba't di nagpakita kanina? Para kita ka
Ma'am.
face. Ang gagwapo't ang gaganda. Mabata pa. Oh.
Okay, so
lagi tayo may mga bagong HR na uma-attend.
Okay, 1, 2, 3 para sa first slide, smile. Okay, sa second slide na tayo. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. Maraming salamat ulit mga ka-HR and Mami Ned. Baka may iba pa kayong gusto sabihin. And Ma'am Daisy?
Gusto ko lang i-plug, every Friday night and Saturday night, meron pong prayer warrior si Ma'am Daisy, and medyo nahirapan lang ako sa internet, minsan nandun ako, minsan nawawala ako. Talagang lalo na pag umuulan, nagkakaroon ng problema ang Converge. So we are inviting everyone to join us at Jesus Hikes Ministries. Lagi po tayong may mga prayer doon na pwede po tayong mag-request ng prayer for our family or ourselves. And syempre, kagaya nga sabi ni Ma'am Daisy kanina, you could personally message her. Talagang napaka-accommodating po niya. Kahit po busy siya, kung di po siya nakasagot agad, wait nyo lang ng konti, malamang nagluluto siya ng pork belly. O, di ba? Ma'am Jorina, kailangan natin dalawin si Ma'am Daisy para matikman ang masarap na pagkain niya. Kasi miss ko lang pumunta sa bahay ni Ma'am Daisy. Ayan. Mga ka-HR, this afternoon, alam kong nagkaroon tayo ng punong-puno, as in puno, maapaw na learning kung paano nga ba natin matutulungan ang ating business na ipagpatuloy ang ating economy or ang ating business sa ating kumpanya habang nagkakaroon ng wage hike. Kagaya rin ang nabanggit ni Ma'am Daisy, in presenting our wage hike sa ating employer, doon tayo sa pinakamataas. Sinasum up lang natin sa pinakamataas para pwede nating hanggang pababae na almost kaya ng management. Sa ngayon, sabi nga nila, sabi ng matatanda, kapag gipit, matutong, mamuloktot, kasi talagang kailangan nating gawin. But definitely, if we have job, if we have still our business, please love it. Kasi marami po talagang nawalan ng trabaho sa panahon ng pandemic at ngayong bumabalik o nagiging okay na ang ating company o ang ating industry. Siyempre, meron po tayong dapat abangan na mga proyekto ng ating presidente and hindi po natin pwedeng hindi suportahan ang ating presidente at ang ating vice-presidente kahit sino pa man ang ating binoto o at ang ating gustong maging presidente. Mga ka-HR mula po sa Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, and Quezon, maraming salamat po. Magkita-kita po tayo next week para sa isa pa na HR Business Partner Learning Series with Ma'am Vivian. See you next week! Bye po mga ka-HR! Thank you, Ma'am Daisy! Thank you, Ma'am Rina! Thank you po mga ka-HR!
Salamat mga ka-HR. Bye-bye.